This is the Military Bottom Line Podcast, episode 70.
It goes by fast already, just being in the military, but working towards your goals or being in school, it goes by like twice as fast. But when you kind of like take a time and pause and reflect, you're like, you kind of feel good because you didn't only like progress in the military, because you will, but you also progress on your own life goals.
Welcome to the Military Bottom Line Podcast, where we learn from veterans and those currently serving how to make the most out of a military contract. We're here to motivate, inspire, and help you leverage your service to positively impact you professionally, personally, and financially during your military career and beyond. What's going on, everybody? Thanks for tuning in. This is your host, Jason Birds. Being a little bit quiet right now just because my baby is sleeping in the next room. But I'm super stoked for you guys to be joining me today. I've got a special guest that I want to kind of concise into this week's bottom line. This week's bottom line is to always be taking classes. Nick has been a great example of this. He's been in the Air Force now for 5 years. He was able to finish up his undergraduate degree and is now like heavy into his master's degree, where he has got a plan to really achieve and accomplish his goals that he had from day one of enlisting. So he has he's just been like making it happen and recognizes the cost of, pursuing those goals and accomplishing those goals, where he really just works and takes classes, and that's kind of his life. But he's leveraging the benefits of tuition assistance, applying for FAFSA. He's even explained how he took the leap into using his GI Bill while on active duty and how he carefully considered the costs associated with doing that. And so I think Nick is a great example of how to use the benefits and the programs that are available to you while on active duty. And I think it's so important to use these programs, as Nick and I discuss, in order to prepare yourself for that time and that fork in the road when it comes to, should I stay in or should I get out? And it's all about preparing you and keeping your options open and ensuring that you have prepared yourself and armed yourself with all the resources necessary to make that decision based on what you want and what's best for you and your family, and not out of necessity to choose one or the other. So I really hope you guys enjoy this episode. Good afternoon, Nick. How you doing, man?
Hey, how's it going? I'm pretty good. How about yourself?
Doing well. I'm excited to finally connect. I know we've had a couple attempts at this, and I know you're a busy man with work, school, and a regular life. So I'm excited we can finally connect.
Yeah, likewise. Yeah, it's been pretty hectic, but like you said, it's nice to finally connect, be able to share whatever information I can.
Yeah, man. I'm looking forward to hearing your story. I like to kind of like start from the beginning and hear a little bit of a background about who you are, where you grew up, and what was your motive for joining the military in the first place?
Oh, okay. Well, I'm originally from California, the Central Valley area. And after high school, I took the college route. So I kind of lived on my own, learned to survive that way. But throughout my college experience, I kind of always wanted to join the military because I have a lot of family in the military. My sister is in the Navy, brother-in-law in the Marines, cousins in the Army. So I kind of understood what it was about, but it was just more about finally taking that step. And then I was just trying to balance the college party life and everything like that. So that kind of went on a hiatus. And then I finally, almost towards when I was going to graduate college, I decided to join and kind of get a taste of the enlisted life, because I ultimately wanted to go officer, and a lot of people pushed me that way. And then I had actually did ROTC at San Diego State for like a year and a half. So that's the route I had wanted to do. But then I just decided to kind of, let's just do the enlisted side. Let's just get a taste of it so I can understand more what the troops go through, because I know there's always the stigma about officers, like just having education but not knowing what's going on. So that was kind of what I wanted to do with it. But then when it came to the education part, I was originally doing nursing. But then as I came in, I had to kind of transition my career a little bit.
Interesting. So you graduated high school, went to college. I mean, like in high school, it was still a thought the military? Like, did you know in high school that eventually you'd end in the military, and you just decided to initially pursue the officer route, or was it
That's
in
funny.
college that you were like, let's do the military?
I didn't even know what officer was in high school, like because I'm from Fireball, so the only military personnel that we see that ever came to our school to
Mm,
recruit was either the Marines or the Army. So I didn't even know anything about the Navy and the Air
gotcha.
Force and Coast Guard, all that stuff. So it was more the enlisted side until like my family members and other friends that were in the military started to kind of tell me the other routes. Oh, you could be an officer since you're already almost done with school. And then that's
Mm,
when I kind of started to dive into the ROTC route and see what that was about.
gotcha. Right on. So how far into, because I mean, I've talked to a lot of people that kind of they start going to college, and then like they kind of realize like, this kind of sucks in its own way. Let me try out the military thing. So where were you in your college career when you decided like, let's put this on hold and move on?
I was like in my junior year. I took the slow
Okay.
route to college because I was like always like I would go part time, full time, stuff like that,
Mm,
just because trying to work and support yourself.
yeah.
Being like a fresh out of high school, trying to pay your way through college, and then trying to live in San Diego, which is
Oh my
astronomically
goodness.
expensive.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
had to cut back on school, so I was kind of taking the slower route, and then I just ended up transferring to SDSU and doing ROTC there for a bit.
Gotcha. Okay. So when you say that you had to like kind of reorient I mean, you were originally thinking nursing and then you joined the Air Force. Did you, did you decide like you no longer wanted to be a nurse? Or when you said you had to kind of change directions for your education, how did that look?
Well, before I joined, I had worked like in the medical field, like at the hospital on the ambulance, and I got like a lot of experience before. So that's all I ever known was the medical field. And
Gotcha.
then as I was about to join, it was kind of, do you want to do this maintenance thing? I kind of knew what maintenance was about, and everyone
Mm.
kind of was like, when you ask for advice, they try to stray you away from like maintenance or security forces. But I was kind of like already, I just want to do it. This is not going to be a career for me. This is just
Yeah.
something I want to go in. I already had mapped out all my goals. I was like, you know what? I can sacrifice this because I know in the long run, this is what I'm going to make of it, regardless of
Mm.
what I'm doing for this enlisted job kind of thing.
Interesting. Yeah. So I don't think we specified. You joined the Air Force, right? You enlisted in the Air Force?
Yes, I joined the Air Force in 2016.
2016.
2016.
Awesome. So it's not when you say like you had your goals kind of plotted out. So like the job you had in the military didn't matter too much because you knew what you were going into the military for, right?
Yes, exactly. Like I already planned out like what I wanted to do with my education and like my career at the end of it.
Cool. So walk us through that a little bit because I know for me, there was another guest a while back that said the military is for those that know exactly what they want and they're going to use the military to get it, or for those that have no idea like what they want and they're just going to go into the military to like figure things out a little bit. So it sounds like you knew exactly what you wanted and you were going to use the military to get you there. So
Yeah.
talk us a little bit about like how you were coming up with those goals, what kind of homework were you doing to figure out like was the Air Force going to get you where you want to go, despite going in as maintenance?
So a lot of that had to do with my social influences, like I said, having other people in the military and kind of telling me what to expect, which branches to join, what I wanted
Mm,
to get out of it. And what stood out to me most is I know people call the Air Force the chair force, but I wanted the best of both worlds. I wanted to have my own kind of personal life, but then still the
mm,
military. And from my experience, just kind of like mingling with other branches, the Air Force is a little bit more laid back. So
yeah.
you don't always feel like you're in the military. Like you have
Mm,
your downtime, you're away. So that's really what I wanted. And I figured that will give me the best chance to pursue my goals, but at the same time, still kind of serve my country and
mm,
see if I want to make a career out of this.
yeah.
So that's what kind of helped me make the decision of which branch I was going to join. Because when I was talking to other branches, there was other ones that were going to give me better jobs in the medical field and better opportunities, but
Mm,
I would be losing a lot of my personal life having to like be away at ship or be the deployed all the time where I can't even go to school. And
Yeah.
like, I didn't want to do that to just have a job I wanted to do. I wanted to be able to pursue my goals. So I sacrificed doing a job I didn't want to do,
Mm.
opposed to like taking something that was I was already experienced in.
Yeah. 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 That's a super good point. And like, I remember when I joined, I worked at a cafe when I was in high school, and like this guy was I think he was an Air Force vet, and he was like always telling me like join the Air Force because it's like way better. And they've got a pretty good thing going over there. And it's one of those things that part of me wishes I listened to his advice, but like you kind of doing your homework and talking to other people and knowing that the Air Force kind of like allowed you a certain amount of freedom to pursue your own goals, where those that I guess it's often job dependent, but those that find themselves in the Marine Corps or the Army, often like work like crazy hours and go on fast ops tempo and rotations for deployments and stuff.
Yeah.
So far you feel like the Air Force has been a good fit for what you were pursuing.
Yeah, so I'm very grateful. I actually ended up choosing it because I was close to going to the Navy for the medical field, but
Mm,
I just kind of did my research into what the maintenance field kind of entailed, and quite honestly, I got kind of lucky by getting stationed at Nellis because it's more of a training base. So I guess you other people that have been stationed and at other bases, they're accustomed to working 12, 14 hours and stuff like that. At Nellis, it's rare you work that amount of
yeah.
hours, but you do get them occasionally. So it allows me to have more of my own personal time for like school and other things such as that.
Gotcha. Gotcha. What I assume it's aircraft maintenance, right?
Yes, it's aircraft maintenance, it's weapons. I work weapons.
Weapons, like fighter jets or
Yeah, on fighter jets, on 35s, and I was on 35s. That's what I
cool.
came in originally for. But once you get your 5 level, they'll move you around because they want you to get experience on other airframes. So I'm on 15s right now.
Mm, gotcha. Cool, cool. So yeah, I mean, so you had a kind of I assume are you still pursuing medical despite kind of being in a different profession right now?
Not medical per se, but still in the hospital in the mental health field. That's where I'm going
Okay,
into because
cool.
just because medical, they didn't allow me to go to the nursing clinics, and there's a lot
Mm,
more labs that are involved. And I
gotcha.
know the Air Force has like nursing programs,
Yeah,
but still they got to pull you away, and then you got to take a bunch of tests, and then for doing that, they require a longer service for you
mm,
being pulled away from the military. And I didn't know if I wanted to to do that because I want to be able to have the say so in my career when I finish my degree. I didn't want to work towards the end of my degree and then them still tell me what to do.
yeah, yeah, for sure. So for you and your goals and like when you enlisted, how like what level of education do you need to accomplish to get, your dream job kind of thing?
So for my dream job to commission, it's going to be a licensed clinical social worker. So
Okay.
after I finish, it requires a master's. Then after you finish your master's, you need 2 years of supervised
Mm,
clinical experience after graduation. After you have your 2 years of clinical supervision, then you could take your test for your LCSW. And
gotcha.
after you pass that, then you commission, or you can commission, and it
Commission it
falls.
in the Air Force.
Yes, but I'm
Okay.
I'm I'm open to other branches just because for I guess for social workers it falls under one of those specialty careers like under like doctors, nurses that requires a certain license to practice. So
Hmm.
it's more sought after. So
Mm,
the military is higher in demand when it comes to recruiting those kind of careers. And I had already
interesting.
had friends that were social workers and in the mental health field. And
Mm,
when I got my undergrad, when I was in, I had got it in at National University in sports psychology. So I already got it in like something in the psych realm. And I
mm,
just chose to like build on top of that. And then by the time I got out, if I wanted to make an adjustment back to my nursing, I would still have my 911 to fall back on.
gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. So I'm trying to remember. I had a conversation with another gentleman. What's the specific what it for the military side of it? What's the specific name? Because it's probably slightly different than
The name for
clinical
the
social worker. The job.
From my knowledge, it's that's pretty much it.
Is it
From when
okay?
I talk to the recruiter and everything like that, it's just you are a licensed clinical social worker for the Air Force.
Gotcha. Gotcha. I was distracted because I was thinking of what this one other guy. It sounds like kind of similar. And I'm totally spacing on what type of job it was. A couple episodes back, sounds like he was doing something similar.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
so where are you in your pursuit of this program, and how are you funding it right now?
Well, I just started my master's in January of this year.
Okay.
So since I don't have my undergrad in social work, it's a little longer process. It's normally for a full time student about 2 years, but if you have
Mm,
your undergrad in social work, it's 1 year. But since I'm
interesting.
going to a public university, I'm going to UNR right now. I'm on a kind of a slower pace because with work and everything like that. So I take like
Yeah.
about 3 classes a semester, so about 9 units.
Okay.
So I probably have like I should probably graduate if everything goes as planned, like in the summer of 2023.
Okay. That's not bad. And
Yeah.
so you were able to use tuition assistance to finish your undergrad, and then you're continuing to use tuition assistance for your master's degree, right?
Yes. When I did my undergrad, I was in the dorms when I started off, but they
Mm,
actually played into my favor because I applied for FAFSA. So I
yes.
was going to the private university. So my TA was covering completely all of my class expenses, but then I was getting max FAFSA on top of that, like just for laptops, books, and everything. So
Yeah.
that afforded me a lot of cushion to save up for in case once my TA ran out or something
Mm,
like that.
yeah. So yeah, that's something that I found out a little bit later when I was using TA, is the ability to use TA and FAFSA simultaneously. Because basically you would qualify because you're living in the barracks,
Yeah.
young enlisted, like making pretty much nothing in the grand scheme of things.
Exactly,
Uh,
exactly. Yeah.
so you are awarded the Pell Grant, right?
Yes, yes. I was bored of the Pell Grant, but as I started to make rank, even I was in the dorms, like it gets cut back significantly.
Mm,
And then when you move out, like I don't think I think I did still get it, but I was only getting like 1,500 or something like that, opposed to getting the max for the Pell Grant.
yeah.
But now that I'm going for my master's, I'm pretty much just using fully my I'm using my TA, and then I'll pay the difference out of pockets for some classes. But I
Mm,
just recently, I didn't want to use it, but I activated my post 9/11 to cover the remainder of the expenses, just because I decided it's better to use it now for a few classes that I need, and then
mm,
those classes I would be paying out of pocket, just save up some cushioning so when I do get out, I don't have to stress out for finances. I'm trying to stay as liquid as possible.
definitely, definitely. So talk a little bit about that in the dynamic where you were like trying not to use the post 9/11, and TA has a certain cap, but then like the school costs so much. So talk a little bit about how you're, if you're okay with it, like how you're doing the math behind those decisions, because some people might just be like, oh, I'll use my post 9/11 and not really think about the ramifications of that decision while they're in, because there are some ramifications, right? There's some opportunity cost there. So kind of
Yes,
talk to
yeah.
us about like, how you came to that conclusion to go about that way.
Well, at first I was just weighing in like I could just pay the difference for my classes after the my TA would run out because I always run out every semester just because your graduate courses are significantly more expensive than your undergrad.
And
So
TA covers, what is it, 40? What is it? How much?
it's I don't know I know they took it away and then they re-upped it again. It's somewhere like around 4,000 or 5,000 something, but they pay up to 750 per class.
Okay.
So mine are like 1,000 something, so they'll pay 750. Then I'll just pay the difference on that, which
Mm,
I'm totally fine with doing that. And plus, like here in Nevada, you get like military, and then if you're a resident, your classes for a
mm,
public university are almost like $1,000, which is insane for graduate school.
yeah.
So with those, I'll just pay the difference, and then if I don't pay, like if I run out of my TA or something like that, I would just have to pay out of pocket. But I was kind of thinking about it, and I was like, yeah, I could just activate my 9/11, and then I could just have that fully paid for. And then
Mm,
since I'm fortunate enough to, I own a house here in Vegas, so I rent out my rooms. So
nice.
I
Nice.
could pay that fully up front, but it's like, would I rather just pocket that on the side? So when I did get out and say for whatever happened, I wasn't able to find a job or something like that, I would have a few grand saved up to give me some leeway, or opposed to just having the 9/11 to activate and getting only like $1,000 a month for my housing allowance, which wouldn't be anything.
Yeah.
So that's what kind of weighed in for me. And then plus, I already planned to do guard here. And then speaking to the one of the guard representatives, he said that it's 100% free tuition, so I could still continue education if I wanted to. I wouldn't have to pay even activate my 9/11. And then right now, I was kind of breaking down the math that I could use maybe like 12 months, and then I'll still have 2 years of my 9/11, and then I could get out and still pursue nursing through the guard part time and work as a social worker, and still have my 9/11 in my back pocket in case I wanted to go to school like in the Philippines or overseas or something like that.
Yes, dude. Yeah. Yeah. So before we get into the guard component, um, when using the GI Bill on active duty, what are you sacrificing? Like, why did you hesitate to do that?
My biggest hesitation was just for the the housing allowance, because I'm not, you can't double dip on that. And then I'm from California, so I wasn't sure if I wanted to go back home to live a little bit closer to family. And then I always wanted to go to San Jose State. Like that was one of my dream schools. And then the housing allowance there is like $4,000, almost $5,000 just for housing alone. And then that's what I was so hesitant about it. But then, like I said, I just had to weigh, like, would I just rather have more money saved up when I get out, or have to sacrifice some of my housing allowance? But what was the deciding factor was I was kind of looking at jobs and seeing how much would I make when I got out. So it was more beneficial for me to activate it now and then have a secure, almost guaranteed job, and then still be able to go to San Jose State with, like, say, my 9/11 or something like that, and still get those 2 years while still working in a career that I want to do.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So for those that aren't super familiar, like if you are already receiving, or actually regardless, like if you're on active duty, you don't get the BAH from the GI Bill. And so even if you're like, E2 living in the barracks, you don't get BAH because you're living in the barracks. And so they look at it as like you're getting BAH because you're getting free housing. And so using your GI Bill is going to cost you whatever that BAH amount would be for your living area. So you're basically just covering, you still get the book stipend, and they still pay for the classes, right?
Yeah, that's why I would recommend for anybody, just depending where you are in your career goals, I wouldn't use it. The only reason I'm using it, like I said, is because I'm already going to be done with my degree. So it's kind of like extra money, so I could make that sacrifice. But if I was like, say, in my undergrad working on it, I definitely would not activate it, because then I don't know if I'm gonna move back home, how expensive it is, and I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to secure a job because I don't have no degree or anything like that. But since I'm already have like my degree and potentially like one of my licenses, I won't have to stress about really finding a job. So I can sacrifice those 12 months.
Yeah. Yeah. So and I think that's just is the important part, is that you're like forward thinking about how you're strategically going about using these benefits to make sure that you're, set up to be, marketably employed and doing well after you transition out. So, if somebody else sees fit that it's the best option for them to use it while they're in, then like, cool. But mostly just like, we're just trying to encourage them to like do the math and figure out if it's actually worth it.
Yeah, definitely like I said, weigh all the pros and cons, what you want to do in life and what career. Yeah. Like, cause at least for me, how I see it is like, I never want to put my future career on hold if I don't have to. And like, for me, I'm just so close to the finish line. Who knows what opportunities that could pass me up if I don't pursue it now. Like who I can meet at the hospital, if I get a GS job at the VA, like that could push me back so much longer. It's going to take me longer to commission. So it's just, I'd rather get the ball rolling with all that, start networking, and just, if I want to have those 2 years left or stay here, and I pretty much will get free education. I'll have to work to support myself. But as I said, like I would already have a degree to find a job and still get the guard to pay for that.
For sure. For sure. So you said like not wanting to put off your, future career, your dream career any longer. Do you feel like joining the Air Force has caused you to put it off longer, or like has it been has it made sense so far? Like for the trade-off for the time you may be delaying it versus the, fiscal cost and opportunity of it.
I would have to say that it was an extreme blessing joining the
Mm,
Air Force because when you're going to university as a civilian, like all the costs are on you. You know what
mm,
I'm saying? Like you only get one shot to afford to go to school, depending on what kind of family or economic class you come
yeah,
from.
yeah,
So it's like if you choose a career and you don't like it, well, it's kind of too
mm,
bad. Unless you want to cough
yeah,
up another 50 to 100 grand, depending where you go to school. So being in the military, it kind of gives you flexibility to kind of
mm,
dabble in different areas. So
yes,
this one allowed me to totally transition from like the health field to the mental health psychology,
mm,
and then it pretty much was funded by the military. So and then I got to see like, oh, I like this a lot more, and I still could do like nursing later on. So it allowed me to find more of what I enjoy
yeah,
and still be able to pursue my career in nursing and when I got out or something like that if I decided to. So I wouldn't
yeah,
say that it pushed back like my career
mm,
dreams or goals. I would say it just made me start to think more, a lot more broad and not be so scarce and be like, I got to do this to fund myself and I only got one shot.
yeah, 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 dude, I totally agree. I was telling somebody a couple weeks back, like joining the military at a young age is almost like a cheat code. Like if the
Exactly.
goal is to go to college and like that's what you need to do in order to get to where you want to go, join the military is just like, I mean, it is a cheat code. Like to be able to, you know, graduate debt free, have the flexibility to kind of be like, you know what, maybe this is the wrong route for me. I want to go this route now. And having, not having the pressure of, like you said, like 50 to $100,000 on your shoulders. Like, oh yeah, I picked a route I don't like, but it's too late.
Yes,
um,
exactly. And it's insane. Like even when I see some of the younger guys like not taking advantage of it,
mm,
but then there is some of the younger guys, and I kind of look back on them, and I'm like, dang, these guys are well ahead of their peers. They're over here making
yeah,
like around $40,000. They already got a house, and they're starting school. They're
yeah,
undergraduate. They have no debt, and then they're traveling to different countries. I was
yeah.
like, yeah, they're doing it right.
100%. Yeah, it's funny. Like, for a while, like I thought I did it pretty right, and then was it comparison is the thief of joy kind of thing. It's like, man, like I was like, I think I did this pretty well, and then I find out somebody else did it like even better. Like, dang it, man, I wish I did it like a little bit more effectively, like you did, kind of. So don't compare yourself too much. Make sure you're just always
Yeah.
working towards your own goals. But yeah, I mean, there's just so many opportunities. So totally agree with that.
Yeah. And then some of the universities, even when I was like applying for like graduate school, I was like searching around, talking to other graduate students at those universities and stuff like that.
Mm,
And specifically, I was looking at USC because USC has an online one and they have a kind of specialty for military social workers. And then I was looking at the cost of it.
mm.
So those other students that were going there were just for tuition alone, it's like 115,000 for graduate
Crazy.
school. But like for me,
Crazy.
if I wanted to like say Palace Chase and get out, I would be able to go there and not have to pay a dime and
Mm,
still get my housing allowance of like 3,000 something. So it was like that's
yeah.
like a blessing in itself right there. I was like, oh my gosh, I had the opportunity to go to this school and
Yeah.
not have to pay anything.
It's crazy. Yeah. It is crazy. It is crazy. So you said you signed up in 2016. It's 2021 now. You're still in your first contract?
Yes, I'm still on my first contract. I'm in my last year now. If I
Okay.
get out, it'll be next year, 2022.
2022. Okay. So you'll be getting out shy of graduating your graduate program, right?
Yes, if I get out, but I think I had kind of planned it out to where I'm gonna extend and then do that extra
Mm,
6 months, and then wherever I'm doing my practicum hours for social work, because I'll be in my concentration year, I'm gonna try to do my internship at the VA hospital, and then by the time I do my practicum with my internship, I'm gonna try to land a job there since I already have the military experience, half a year of doing practicums there and doing my school there. I think
gotcha.
I'll be like a well-known face to have a good shot at getting a GS job.
Yeah, for sure. So that's the ultimate goal is kind of a GS job in this field.
Uh, Yeah, kind of because I like I said, I want to come back in as an officer. So
Yeah.
staying on the federal side, I could kind of roll my retirement in. And then by
Yeah.
the time I come in, it still stays in line with the military and the federal side.
Mm. Nice. Yeah. So you also talked about the guard within that, and so like, are you hoping to commission in the guard in this job field?
And see that's where I was up in the air about
Yeah.
it because I wasn't sure if I wanted to do it part time or just full time.
Mm,
I'm not too sure what that. Like as of right now, I want to do it full time, but I was just gonna do part time guard while
yeah.
I got my license. Because like I said, after you graduate, you need 2 years of supervised experience,
Yeah.
and you can't commission without your license as a social worker. So after I separated from the military active duty, I was just gonna go straight to the guard and then finish my 2 clinical hours and then commission either guard or the back
Gotcha.
into that active side.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So within the guard, because I mean, you said that school's free while you're in the guard, right?
Yes, yes.
What program is that? Because it's not like you get another GI Bill. Well, not really. Like, what program enables you to go to school for free while in the guard?
Well, since at least speaking to the guard representative, since it's funded by the state, and I guess
Mhm.
Nevada has a lot of money, they said that for their guard members, they get 100% tuition for school.
Mm,
So that's what they use. They don't use their 911. Some of them,
yeah,
some of the guard members use their Montgomery since they'll get more in their housing, but then they'll use
yeah.
their TA from the guard, which pays 100%. So he told
Interesting.
me, like, even though I get out, as long as if I stay here and I want to just go to school for another degree, it doesn't even matter that
Mm,
that would be 100% funded. So if I wanted another master's or a bachelor's, they would pay for it.
gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah. So I know one thing that people should know is that there are guard benefits that are state dependent. And so
Yeah.
oftentimes the education benefits that are separate from like the already federal guard benefits you can get, there are state education benefits you can get. And so I've heard of states that, like New Hampshire has the tuition waiver where you can basically go to any state school completely free. They just like waive the cost of tuition.
Oh, okay.
And for you, maybe there is an actual transaction of funds, but for you
Yeah.
in Nevada, you can go to any state school. Like it's free for you. Who knows if it's free for everybody, but it's free for you to go to
Yeah.
school.
Yeah, I think it's if you did like your whole enlistment, or say 4 years,
Mm,
6 years, whatever it may be, and then you come transfer over or Palace front over, that you
gotcha.
pretty much automatically require because you did your time in service. Because I know like some people when they go straight guard, they can't even use their schooling till X amount of years in guard.
Oh, interesting.
But
Okay.
yeah, but since like we already served and did our time, I think we're already automatically awarded that like right off the
Mm,
bat.
interesting. Okay. So it's a guard specific benefit, but if you've done prior service before you go into the guard, you can get it sooner than if you went straight to the guard.
Yeah, from my understanding of speaking with the guard
Gotcha.
representative here.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think that is something, like if somebody's considering joining like guard, active duty, reserves, like there's a lot it can get confusing for sure. And
Yeah.
if I think if you're like already thinking about guard reserves and you're kind of like on a, state borderline, like you can drive 2 hours to go to the next state, like to do homework and to recognize those differences between each state's benefits, it might be worth driving 2 hours a month if
Oh,
you're getting
definitely.
tuition 100% free.
Yes, definitely. And especially they have like I forgot what the program's called, but I know it's like designated to certain career fields, especially like security forces,
Mm.
where you could do like 2 months out of the year, and then you could live wherever you want or live in another country. Because I was contemplating on switching over to security forces so I could. So I wanted to go to school out the country, and I spoke with them,
Mm.
and they had told me, well, they have a lot of slots for the program to like be able to live where you want in the world and just come back and do two months of guard a year, and you'll be fine.
Wow.
And that's what
Wow.
I was thinking of doing. I was like, oh, that's awesome. Because for weapons, they only have certain amount of slots, and those are like usually allocated to like the higher us masters, seniors, chiefs. But I guess for
Yeah.
security forces, they have a lot more for like airmen, staff, stuff like that.
Interesting. Yeah, that is super cool. I know, yeah, within the guard and reserves there are definitely unique ways to finagle schedules and stuff like that, but don't always like expect it. you know.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Earlier, you mentioned something about palace chasing.
Oh yeah, yeah, college chasing. I was actually thinking about doing that, going because they have a mental health for enlisted on the active duty side, and I was contemplating on doing that during my undergrad, but it would require me to move to like Maryland or something like that. But I spoke with the squadron, everyone over there, and you just kind of talk to your in-service recruiter. They'll tell you where your job you're
So
looking for is available.
what is palace chasing first?
Palace chasing is pretty much getting out once you reach like halfway through your enlistment. So if you're
Okay.
4 at 2 years, 6 3 years, and then they require you to do, I think, double of whatever you have remaining on your contract. So you'll just be doing your 1 week in a month, but instead of doing your 2 years that you have left on a 4 year, you'll be doing 4 years of um, guard or reserve.
And it doesn't even have to be like active duty guard or active duty reserve. It can just be,
No,
you can drop to traditional guard and do
yes,
twice as long as what you had left, but you are now a part timer.
yes, yes,
That is like, that's super sweet. I mean,
yeah.
if that's convenient for your life and part of, matching up your goals, that is pretty awesome. But then I'm curious, like if you're signed a 4-year contract and at 2 years you start to palace chase, but you need 36 months to get the GI Bill, like, do you still get it, the GI Bill, or do you get
I'm,
cut out?
I think you get to use what you have served. Like your 2 years, they kind of like prorate of what you can use for that time of service.
Yeah.
And then as you're still doing your guard or reserve time, that time starts to accumulate. So it starts to
Mm,
make up for the other 12 months.
okay. So there's potential cost to taking that out. Gotcha.
Yeah, yeah. But I would just double check with your in service recruiter on exactly how much months you're allocated for doing like part of your contract.
Yeah. Okay. And so you've looked into this route. What
Yes.
if somebody were to be interested in, like, okay, I'm over this, like, wait, I can get out early. What what route would you send them on? What's the kind of like the step by step of going about that?
Um, I think first would be just not anybody could qualify for it. Like you can't be on any like restriction roster. You can't have like a failed PT test and trouble a lot. Like they make it more of a reward
Mm,
incentive for people that have been in good standing to
yeah.
actually do Palace Front or Palace Chase, whatever it is. So I would say the first thing to do is just kind of be real with yourself, like know where you stand with your military career, and then just
Hmm.
go talk to like I think every base has like an in-service recruiter or guard reserve. Just talk to them, and they'll like pretty much lay it down for you as what job do you want to do? Do you want to stay in your job, and kind of like when are you looking to get out? Because
Mm,
from what I was understanding, at least for me, it was relatively simple to start the whole process and get it done. It's just I was just weighing everything, and it just made more sense for me to stay in.
mm, yeah. 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 I mean, you covered a couple good things there. One of them being like not everybody's going to qualify, and I think, there are so many programs in the military, but
Yeah,
those programs are pretty much reserved for performers. Like,
exactly.
you can't be a turd and then go apply for all these programs and think that they're going to give it to you. Um,
Yes.
so yeah, that's a really good point, is to, you have to earn being accepted into a program like that. Like if you're just kind of not doing any work and you're like, I'm over this, let me palace front or palace chase. I wouldn't count on it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like, but if I was further along, like say in my career, undergrad or something like that, and wanted to just start working, I would have definitely like Palace Chase like halfway throughout my career and
Mm,
just kicked ass pretty much from like my 2 years, like stayed in getting
yeah,
awards, just stayed in good standing. So then it would be
yeah.
a smoother transaction. So it's nice to know ahead of hand if you want to like Palace Chase, because it'll be a lot easier opposed to
Mm,
just things are going bad. I'm getting in trouble. I want to get out because it's more than
yes,
likely they're probably not going to
yeah,
let you get out, especially when you're like in an undermanned field like security forces
yeah.
or maintenance, to where you're already like in trouble. You're on like certain list, and it's like
Mm.
no, you're not going to get off that easy.
Yeah, 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 for sure, for sure. How do you feel like? I mean, so basically, you've been in school nonstop.
Oh
from
yeah.
the beginning, you know, right?
Yeah, I've been in school
Uh,
pretty
uh,
much nonstop.
how how do you feel like that has gone, and how have you balanced, schoolwork, like 3 classes a semester is like, I mean, that's pretty significant. uh
Yes.
and plus working full time, plus trying to have, a social life, own a house, and like, how have you been able to balance all those things?
For me, just balancing it out was already kind of mapping everything out, like writing exactly everything down, how long it was going to take, how much time I
Hmm.
had in a day, and just breaking it down to like the steps of where I was going to be instead of just going off the top of my head and let me try this or let me try that.
Yeah.
But definitely like just starting school and everything, like I knew I wasn't be giving up a social life. Like I live here in Vegas. I have yet to have even went out to see a show because I do not have time except when we have like a 2 week gap from school,
Mm.
which I'm in right now. But other than that, it's like it's just work, school, and sometimes gym.
Wow.
That's it. It's ridiculous, but it feels good because when you're so busy, like
Mm,
these past 5 years have flown by for me.
mm,
Like it's ridiculous. Even when I think about it or to speak with my family, they're like, "Dang, you already been in 5 years." I'm like, "Yeah, I've already been in 5 years."
yeah.
So your time it goes by fast already. Just being in the military, but being working towards your goals or being in school, it
Mm,
goes by like twice as fast. But
yeah.
when you kind of like take a time and pause and reflect, you're like you kind of feel good because you didn't only like progress in the military because you will,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
you also progress on your own life goals.
For sure. For sure. Yeah. It's one of those things that when you say it's like goes by twice as fast because like you're busy, but then you're even more busy because you're like doing school and stuff. And like, I don't know, just thinking about making sure like you're taking time to enjoy the process, because
Yeah,
when the
yeah,
time does come to get out, it's gonna be like, man, like that went by super quick. What just happened? What did I do? you know?
exactly, and especially like that's why it's good to kind of like if you already have your goals and everything mapped
Mm,
out, you won't come to the end of your enlistment
mm,
and be like a lot of people where it's just like you're a diehard. I'm getting out. I hate this, but then you're
no,
like reflecting on maybe it's better to stay in. I got
yeah,
this and this and this. But
yeah,
when you have everything already mapped out, it's kind of like, I already know
yep,
I'm getting out. There is no ands, ifs, or buts. I know what I'm doing. So you're not
yes,
second guessing yourself.
yes,
Because I see that as so much in this,
mm,
and I don't blame people that don't have a plan sometimes and they don't elect to get out because for
yeah,
one, it is scary as a civilian
for
being on
sure,
your own and only having your military career that sometimes doesn't translate as well.
yeah,
And it's like it's a rude awakening once it comes to the end of the finish line
mm.
and it's not all stars and stripes and rainbows right when you're gonna get out.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, it's so true. And I think like that's a message I try to, put out there, is that like I want people to be prepared for the transition, whether or not they think they're going to get out. I hate to see people get to that point where they have to make the decision and their arms kind of twisted because like they weren't prepared for getting out, and the reality of like there's going to be costs associated with it, and like they didn't save up any money, they didn't take any classes to kind of like segue them into a new career. And so like, just being in a position where you have the choice, like the actual choice and practicality, and supporting your family and whoever else you're responsible for, just making sure that like, you're at a good place there, that you can make that choice. So
Oh yes,
totally agree.
definitely.
Totally
And I
agree.
think like a good I don't know what it's called for like all the other branches of service, but
Hmm.
for I know for the Air Force it's called TAP. It's like to
Yeah.
transition assistance program, and
Hmm.
I wasn't nowhere near getting out, but I decided to go to it in I think 2020 or 2 years
Yeah.
ago. I decided to go or a year ago,
Yeah.
and right there they tell you a lot of stuff because a lot of people who run the TAP program are prior enlisted. So
Yeah.
they tell you all the stuff that you didn't know. And some of it's like a rude awakening. And it's
Mm.
kind of, it could be nervous. I felt nervous there with all the information they were like unloading on me. And I wasn't even getting out. So I could imagine the people that
Oh
were
my
going to get out
goodness.
and waited the last minute to go to that.
Yeah.
So like I would suggest going to that like almost every year if you can, because there's
Yeah.
so much stuff always updating with the military that
Mm,
they're gonna be the first person to know anything that changed or what's still active. And
yeah.
it's just good to go every year, just not that you're gonna get out, so you understand what you're getting into when you're getting out in terms of losing your benefits and stuff
Yeah.
like that and what to activate and what route you want to do. So it's good to kind of go to that every year, I would
Dude,
say.
totally agree. I don't know if because I'm trying to think, like in the Marine Corps, I don't think everybody has the opportunity to go like every year. Like you get to go once before you get out.
Oh, okay.
Um, to be able to go once every year, dude, that'd be crazy. Because it's like a week long.
Yeah.
It's a week long seminar, isn't it?
They changed it because last time I went, it went from being a week long to 3 days to where the last 2 days are kind of um, if you want to go voluntarily to kind of help more with like the job
Gotcha.
fair, resume building, and
Mm,
internship or entrepreneur route. They kind of reserve those last 2 days for that. But since all this stuff happened with the pandemic,
mm.
I think they just made it through Zoom, and it's like 2 days now. So I don't
Oh
know how
wow.
they, I don't know how they crunch all the information 2 days.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just man via Zoom. Like I remember there were people in my class that like they literally slept through it. Like they didn't pay attention at all. And I'm like, oh my goodness, man. Like these people are like handing you like the golden ticket, and you're just sleeping. So I can't imagine, how many more people are sleeping via Zoom, you know, like they just like roll over in
Yeah.
their bed, turn on their, computer and oh gosh. Yeah. It's
I honestly
definitely
think
something to take seriously.
yeah, it is. It is. And that's why I said, if you have the chance, go more than once. Cause I felt that even going from those 3 days, like it was just too much information for me
Mm,
to just
yeah,
like really grasp. I was like, oh my gosh, trying to take notes and
yeah,
highlight this and get pit forms. I was like, how to activate certain benefits you get when you get out. It's just a lot of information. And that's
yeah.
why I recommend going more than once. And I've seen some of my supervision in there and they told me, yeah, this is my fourth time going
Hmm,
because it's just so much information. And if you want to take advantage of all of them, it's kind
wow.
of better to keep going and stay up to date, like I said, with the different changes. Because from what I was hearing, like a lot of stuff you got to apply for, like say 180 days out. If you want to apply for this program, this day, like, okay, you have to apply 5 months out, this and this. And like most of the
Mm,
people there are already like getting out in a month or two, so they don't even qualify for them. So I was
yeah.
like,
Oh, it's so
that's
true.
why it's so important to go as
Yeah,
much as you can as early so you have the dates.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like Skill Bridge or what CSP, career something. I forget what CSP stands for. Career Skills Program or something. Yeah, like
Think
these
so, yeah.
opportunities where you can use like the last 6 months of your contract to basically
Mhm.
like go do an internship or like go do something else.
Yeah.
And so yeah, if you're late to the party on the TAPS class, you're gonna miss some good stuff.
Yes, yes. Or
So
some people trying to trying to go in like the last month and report
uh,
all these injuries for disability, like their neck,
man,
their back. I'm like,
yeah,
dog, you've been working in maintenance for the past 5 years and you want to go the last month
yeah,
before you get out? Like you should have been documenting this like throughout your career.
yeah,
Like it seems a little sketch, like trying to say your back hurts a month before you get out. Like even if I was a doctor, I'd be like, I kind of believe it, but
yeah.
I don't know about all this.
Yeah, yeah. It's so true. It's so true. You mentioned also that you bought a house in Vegas and you're renting out your rooms.
Yes, yes. When
So,
I, oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say like, well, before I came in, like I said, I already had like the goal to buy a house because I already did like the research, and my sister had already used it to buy her house, so
Hmm.
I was kind of familiar with trying to use the VA loan. So
Cool.
even before, once I found out I was going to get stationed in at Nellis, and I was at tech school going from Shepherd to Florida, I was already looking at houses.
Mm,
I was already looking at houses. I knew I wasn't going to be able to move yet, but I was like, I want to find something. I want to look early because I know the process can be lengthy.
yeah.
So I had been looking probably like 7, 8 months before I bought my house. And then right when I found one, I just went and talked to our first shirt.
Mm,
And I just pretty much told them, like, I was like, look, sir, this is what I found. I'm going to be buying a house. So they got me out of the dorms immediately for that.
wow,
And
dude. I mean, you were like what 20, 21 at this time frame when you're
no,
making
I
like
was a lot older. I joined late. I joined like when I was like 25. I joined
oh,
when I was
okay,
25.
okay.
Yeah.
I was guesstimating based off you saying a junior. So, but you did say you took the slower route. Okay. So,
Yeah.
but even like 25, and you have a lot of forethought into like, okay, like I want this, I want this, I want this. I'm doing the homework, I'm doing the research, I'm taking the steps, the action steps to actually make it happen. And so,
Yeah.
like I've had other people on talking about house hacking. Like my wife and I are doing a house hack with a duplex, and like the other
Oh,
guy was doing it with a
nice.
fourplex. But like, even with a single family, I assume being able to rent out extra bedrooms, and bringing your cost of living like way down because you're renting those bedrooms out is like enabling
Yeah.
you to stack more and more money,
Yeah,
and,
it's
and prepare
ridiculous.
yourself that much more for that transition.
Yes, it's ridiculous how much you could save up just by renting out your rooms. And the thing is, being in
Hmm.
the military, there's always like junior enlisted, always looking for housing, always trying to get out of
Mm,
the dorms, and they don't want to make that leap to buy a house.
yeah.
But they've never lived on their own, so they don't know what to do in terms of down
Mm,
payment, how to start electricity, water, and all that. They just think it
yeah.
comes bundled in with the house, and it's like, no, dog. This isn't The Sims where everything's just paid with in one payment. So they
Yeah.
just rather just be like, you know what, I just want to pay you,
Mm,
rent me a room. All right. So, I mean, for me, I was really fortunate because when I bought, and at the time, like I got roommates in pretty quick.
yeah.
And then it just allowed me to start saving up. And a lot of the money that I saved up, I either used it for investments or
Mm,
for just saving up for school and
nice.
and travel
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and
So
travel too.
you're not going out to buy the latest like Dodge Charger or something like that?
No, heck no. I still got my 2006 Mustang. Everyone gives me grief about it at work. I'm like, hey, dog, it's an A to B car. It does its job,
Yeah.
and I don't have no car payment. All I do is pay my insurance, and I'm fine.
Nice.
I'm not trying to
Nice.
have a $300-400 car payments. I'd rather use that extra $300-400 to travel.
Yeah. Oh man, totally agree. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. People like to jump on the car, opportunity, but
Yeah,
it's a sinkhole. So
everyone in my house has a better car than me.
keep it that way, man. Keep it that way. Do you work with the guys you rent to, or are they just Craigslist ads?
No, there. I work with all of them. Like
Oh, you do.
one of
Cool.
them, was actually from the tech school with me, so he's been here 5 years
Mm,
too. And then the other guy's from the shop. He's been here like 2 years. And then they moved me to a different shop. So one of the newer airmen just got out of the dorms and moved in with me. So I work with all of them. And like I said, for people looking to buy a house, it's pretty easy to find people because they're all people that
yeah.
they're younger airmen that moved from their parents' house, and
Yeah.
they're living in the dorm. So this is the first time they're actually moving off base to live on their own. So it's much easier for them to move with a familiar face that they could trust,
Mm,
opposed to just paying $1,000 for their own apartment and not knowing how to manage their money.
yeah. Yeah. Totally agree. Totally agree. Yeah. Yeah. The house hack is just like, dude, it's a sweet deal. It's a sweet deal. Good for you, man. Uh,
Thanks.
what do you feel like? I mean, you've used the VA loan, you've used TA, you've used the GI Bill, like you're taking advantage of, TAPS. Like of all the programs and opportunities that you've taken advantage of and know about, like what's the one that you've been most excited about and would like encourage other people to make sure they're taking advantage of?
Probably the most I would say it would be the school benefits. It would have to
Mm,
be the TA definitely, and activating your FAFSA at the same time. Like as soon
yeah.
as you start, at least just apply for it. Like you never know. Like I've had people I've encouraged to apply for it. Like
Hmm.
I think 4 out of the 5 got it, and they didn't even know they were going to be able to get it because either
Yeah.
some of them had a wife and kids, or they were
Mm,
off base, but they ended up getting awarded something. And
yeah.
it's like they're able to use that for not just school, but like some of them have used it for vacation or to like buy laptops, or you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying. So it's like
Yeah.
maximizing that TA, because like especially for not all career fields get a bonus,
Mm,
and like
yep.
for me, I kind of seen it as, well, if I'm not getting a bonus, I'm getting a free $4,000 to $5,000 a year. If I
Yeah.
use that, that's an extra $20,000-30,000 bonus I'm technically getting, because
Yeah.
people that are in or are looking to join, they'll realize
Mhm.
a lot of people don't use that extra $4,000 a year. So it just pretty much goes back to the government.
Yeah.
And so for me, I try to
Yeah.
optimize that. And since I've been in and been allowed to use it,
Mm,
I've used like maybe over $20,000 in TA.
nice. Nice. Yeah. Dude, and that's huge. Like so many people in the military like complain about how they don't make any money, which is like kind of a crock to begin with, considering like expenses should be super low. But if they want to get more value out of it, $4,000 a year in TA plus, if you're going full time using Pell Grant, like I think it's 2,800 a semester if you're maxing it out. So like
It's something like that, yeah.
we're talking like a $10,000 raise or bonus right there every year if you're taking classes and like working towards something that's only going to better you.
Yes,
Um,
exactly.
so I totally agree. Yeah.
And for me, what I kind of found from going to a private institution and a public was that private institutions, say like National University of Phoenix and all these, they're a lot better structured for like the working adult, because you're taking like either one class at a time for 1 to 2 weeks, and then at the end of the semester it equates to full time. So you're gonna get max FAFSA. Opposed to like a public university, it's not so much favored to the working adult, because like me, I have to take 2 to 3 classes at the same time to still qualify for a certain amount of, say, FAFSA. So like for my undergraduate, I was taking a class a month. So I was like blazing, taking like 12 classes a year, but I was getting max FAFSA every time. But it allowed me to narrow in and take one class instead of trying to juggle 2 and worry about having to pay my TA back if I failed the class.
True. How do you feel about, because you bring that up, like the school type, like what kind of weight do you put on your school selection? And, I've heard weird things about like Phoenix University or whatever. And like, there are those kind of sketchy ones, I feel like, that are like trying to like just take your government money type thing. Where's your position on that and kind of recommendation for people who are trying to figure out like what school should I actually go to?
For me, I kind of see it as speaking to the people that are actually doing the job itself. Because for me, I wouldn't want to feel stupid to go to say USC, school that cost me $100,000, but I'm still only getting paid 60, opposed to this social worker who went to University of Phoenix, paid 20,000, and they're the director. And that's what happened. I kind of spoke with one of the officers as a social worker, and they pretty much told me, they were like, to be honest with you, it's nice to go to all these big schools, well named, but she was like, I looked for a graduate school that had no, what is it called? No GRE, that was cheap and that was accredited. So that's what I did. I looked for something that was financially, it fit my budget, something that was regionally accredited. And it was just conducive to my work schedule. And I was lucky enough to find that, because that's why that's another reason why I didn't wait till I got out. Because I was like, it'll look nice on my resume to have all this, but is this going to guarantee me more pay? And the answer was no. Like by commission, I'm going to get paid the same. But if I start now, I'm going to start to get paid as an officer earlier.
True. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. I mean, there's that Netflix show on the admission scandal, and basically how talking about like these big name schools, like a lot of it's just branding, like that you're paying for the brand, like buying freaking Gucci or something like that,
Exactly.
And so like, yeah, you're getting involved in a network of other people within that brand. But at the end of the day, you can still like get a good job and get a job and then kind of grow where you want to grow, even by going to a state school or something like that, So
I think the branding comes more into play with your degree. Like if you're going to go to law school or business, you might have to have that kind of degree, because that's how they only allow other people in to be prestigious at an Ivy League. But when you're going to more medical or something that's more broad and requires licensure, I don't think branding really matters. It depends what organization you're trying to work with. But like if you come in with a Harvard degree and a University of Phoenix and they're both accredited, you're going to get paid the same as an officer. But if you're trying to work in like a private sector or something like that, and you're trying to get in with a certain law firm or something like that, then that degree might make a difference. So it just depends what you want to do with your career.
Yeah, totally true. Yeah, I mean, if the ultimate goal is a commission, then it's like, the military is commission's a commission,
Exactly.
Other than like the pissing contest that officers get into about like, oh, where'd you go to school? Like, what'd you study? Other than that, it doesn't really matter,
Yeah. As long as you can perform in the field with what you went to school for, that's really what matters. Because like I said, you don't want to have this. I wouldn't want to have this prestigious degree and then feel that I overpaid when I'm working for someone who has a University of Phoenix degree and is better than me at the job. So it's more about learning your shit and knowing what you're doing.
Good point. Yeah. Good point. Yeah. Awesome, man. Awesome. Yeah, dude, I'm stoked. You know, dude, I love talking to people that like have their goal, they've had their eyes on it, and there's like they're just plugging away at it. Like I know it's gonna take, 6, 7, 8 years, whatever it's gonna take. And I've got this route and I've got this plan to accomplish it. And that's how it should be done rather than waiting till the end of their military contract to like start their goal. Like they could start day one of their military contract, you know?
Yeah,
So
exactly, exactly. Because then you're just using more money from your 9/11 or Montgomery.
mm,
It's like you could have saved all that money by taking these classes. You waited to get out to
yeah,
take, and it's like
yeah.
you could have had some left over to maybe give to your spouse or a
Hmm.
significant other, whoever it may be.
Yeah.
So that was another thing. And then one
Yeah.
other thing, just to leave for the viewers, because I just found out because I had just called the VA and I activated my 9/11. Was that I
Mm,
guess if you didn't serve before 2011, you can't act if you activate the Montgomery while you're in, you can't switch back over to the 9/11. They
mm,
told me that if you served after that or you joined after 2011, that you have to stick with whatever you choose unless you do another enlistment. Then you could swap back to the 9/11.
interesting.
And they almost got me with that, and I would have been so mad
Wow.
because I was going to activate the Montgomery right now because I
Mm,
figured maybe it'll save me a few more months since it's dispersed a little bit differently. But
yeah.
then the rep told me unless you do another enlistment or something like that, you can't switch to the 9/11. You would have to forfeit it. But so
Yeah.
I would just, if you just want to activate it while you're still in and just do one term, that's it, and be done with the military, I would say just go with the 9/11. So if you do
Yeah.
decide to get out, you still get the housing depending on what university you
Mm,
decided to go with. Because if you go to Montgomery and you go to a school that's really expensive, but the cost of living is cheap, you're kind of screwed. You can't opt for that higher housing.
interesting. Interesting. Yeah, man. And so it's like there's just so many nuances in the way like the programs and the benefits work out that like there are times you gotta be careful, like not
Really?
that they're trying to like screw you, that's not really the point. It's just government bureaucracy. And so things get complicated.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's important to do your homework for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, they're always changing stuff. So it's good to either just call and check or speak with someone who works in one of the actual
Hmm.
VA or your family readiness that knows stuff. Because my
Yeah.
roommate just went to the briefing for like your internship, how you could
Mm,
do that, and I guess he told me that the government's switching it to where it has to be a DoD affiliated program. You could only do your internship at. So you can't just go anywhere and
uh,
work for my dad's roofing company or my friends. They're switching it to where it has to be specific.
gotcha. Gotcha. I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on to share your story. I've got a couple questions for the closing questions for since you're still in. Question number one, based on your experience so far, would you recommend the military to others?
I would definitely recommend it to others. Even if you have no passion for serving or
Mm,
anything, it's definitely a boost in life as an adult or advantage. It gives you so much opportunity and just resources to have in your back pocket to
yeah.
use kind of at your disposal.
Mm,
And like it's just something I wish I would have done a lot younger. But
mm,
it's just, I didn't know as much as I did when I did decide to join. But it's definitely worth joining.
yeah. Yeah. Well said. What do you think separates those who are successful in the military versus those who are not?
I would say just either planning and just having like a purpose of why you're doing it. Because some
Mm,
people, even when they do join just to do something, they just kind of go through it. That they just
mm,
go through the daily routine of the military. But
yeah.
the ones that actually have the goals and stuff, they're willing to sacrifice and do the things they don't really want to do. But they know
Mm,
that this is going to get them one step closer to where they want to be.
yeah. 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 I agree. What is the most influential book that you've read?
Ah, dang, I have to think about that because I usually go through different books, but since I'm always having to read textbooks, it's like audiobooks as
Yeah.
of lately. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd have to get back to you on that one. Let me
All
look at
right.
it. I have to look at it real quick.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Lastly, do you have a favorite military discount that you take advantage of?
Favorite military discount? Probably like for like my car insurance, house, and
Mm,
everything like that. Like bundling it with like USAA or Navy Fed.
yeah.
I think that's one of my favorite ones that I use right now that I could think of.
Cool. 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 Yeah. Yeah. I've been I didn't even know. Like my wife kept on asking me like why our insurance was so cheap, and I'm like, I don't even know. Like, are we covered? And so I called them once, and like, yeah, you've been with us for 9 years. Like you've never gotten in an accident, this, that, and the other thing. So like you're literally like maxed out on discounts. Like it's almost 50% off. And I'm like, oh, like sweet, okay. It's like we're still covered,
Yeah.
right? And so that USA has been cheap. Who knows if they'll be good when I need to file a claim, but well,
Yeah,
hopefully
yeah.
we won't ever have to find that out.
Yeah, I would probably say, let me going back on the book. I'd probably say it's the Ultimate Jim Rohn Library.
Mm,
I like that book. It's like a compilation of his best like
speeches.
teachings.
Cool.
Yeah,
The,
that's one that I really love.
the ultimate Jim Rohn.
Yeah, it's the Ultimate Jim Rohn.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool. I imagine it is, if it's an audiobook, it's probably like it's all him speaking, right?
yeah, it's all him speaking
Cool.
himself. It's not someone narrating it or anything like that.
Nice.
But
That's super cool. Yeah.
I'd probably say I think you touched on this one of your last podcasts. But I
Mm.
think one of the hidden gem benefits that I have yet to use, but I've always wanted to use, is the hopper or the space A.
Yes, dude.
That one's money right there, man. I just
Yeah.
haven't used it.
So it's a little bit, it's a little bit complicated during COVID, obviously, but once hopefully all this is behind us, yeah, if you do end up getting out, cutting ties, and you got some terminal leave that you can take advantage of, man, I like highly, highly recommend it. Like max out that terminal leave and just jet around.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Getting
Yes. Yes.
getting that boarding pass that says $0 on it, it's just like it's fun.
Yeah. Exactly. And for if there's new people listening, I would recommend after you get to, I know when you go to like boot camp, tech school, they'll give you like time to go back home or do
Mm,
whatever. I'd recommend just I mean, this is what really helped me was just pocketing those 30 days of leave for the first 2 years. I didn't take leave.
mm,
So like since I've been in, I've always had like 60 or more days of leave. And
yeah.
then I just use it at once and just travel to like either like Vietnam or the Philippines and stuff like that,
Cool.
and come back and still already have like 50 something days or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's good to create that leeway instead of you'll see all your peers like right when they get a chance to leave, burning it, and then when they get up to the first base, they only
Mm,
got like 10 days, 15 days.
yeah. Yeah. And then being like strategic with it with like long weekends, 'Cause
Oh
I'm not,
yeah,
because if you take it on a Thursday of a 3-day weekend and then you like go through the whole next week, like you would be off those 3 days anyways, but you burn
yes,
3 days of leave. Um,
yes, exactly. That's what I'm doing now, actually.
there you go, man. There
Because
you go. And
we got a 4 day weekend, and then I got Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday off, so I got like 10 days.
nice, nice. That was something that surprised me when I joined and took leave the first time. I was like, wait, why does a weekend count against me? And it's because like
Yeah,
you're in the military
dumb.
24/7, I guess. And so
They can
30,
call you.
yeah, like you're always like on call, I guess. It's kind of, I get it in one sense, in another sense, it's like 30 days ain't really 30 days if you do that.
Yeah, yeah. And I think I remember one time where I don't even know how I pulled it off looking back on it, but it was like there around Thanksgiving.
Mm,
I had took like 20 days of leave, and then my leave ended on Thanksgiving. So then I had that extra like 5 or whatever days they give you for Thanksgiving. And then right after Thanksgiving, I started rap. So I
mm.
took like 40 something days of leave. It only used like 20.
Wow.
I don't know how
Wow.
I did it, but people were like, how the heck did they let you use that? You need commander's approval to use it. I was like, at the time, I didn't know. My supervision said, hey, if it works, you're good to go. So I bundled all that and was like gone for
Yeah.
over a month.
Wow. Yeah. Don't ask too many questions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, Nick, thanks so much for coming on, sharing your story. For anybody that wants to like connect with you and maybe try to like pick your brain about like how you're playing this whole education game and making it happen for you, where can people find you?
Yeah, I think the best way to contact me is on Instagram. Uh, my handle is gonzo_30.
Awesome. Awesome. I'll make sure it's linked in the description below. And yeah, man, you're definitely like playing the game the right way, and you're making sure that you're prepared for that transition, whether you get out, stay in the guard, whatever. Like you're making the right moves, and so like that's what I want to see everybody do, is make sure that they are prepared for whatever route they take at that fork in the road,
Mhm.
just to use the time that they're in wisely, preparing for that. So I
Yeah,
appreciate you
definitely.
I appreciate you sharing that experience and sharing that wisdom.
Yeah, no problem.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, we'll stay in touch, and I look forward to seeing how your career goes moving forward.
Thank you.
Hey, everybody. Thanks again for tuning in. I really hope you were inspired by Nick's story. And I mean, I get really excited about it because, Nick is just, he's in the military, he's serving his country, and he's bettering himself simultaneously. Not only is he bettering himself in his military career, but he's bettering himself in his civilian pursuits and his civilian career that he's going to have. Like, without a doubt, he's going to accomplish his goals because he's putting in the work right now, daily. And so I just really wanted to encourage you guys that no matter if you're working 10, 12, 14 hours a day, there's always going to be a form of class, a form of growth that you can be pursuing and taking advantage of while in the military, whether it be tuition assistance or the cool programs or any version of that. I just really want to encourage you to not sleep on the programs and benefits that are available to you now while you're active duty, because that day is going to come when you have to choose between getting out or staying in. And I just don't want anybody to stay in just because they don't feel prepared to get out. And so definitely take advantage of those opportunities. I've got videos on YouTube in regards to this on how to go to school on active duty and make the most out of that opportunity. So don't sleep on the YouTube channel. Go check out Military Bottom Line on YouTube, and I will see you guys next week. I hope you're all doing well. Peace.